Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Well, I'm not hearing anything. Are you muted? Something scratchy.
If he can hear me.
Yeah, you just came in this second.
Good. Okay, Mike is having trouble with his audio.
Holy mackerel.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you, Bob? Nice to see you face to face. Hi, Mark.
Blaine, nice to see you not in a video.
Yes, nice to formally meet you. You're from New York?
I'm from a place I'm betting you're familiar with.
Armonk, right?
Pound Ridge.
Oh, yeah. It's literally like 10 minutes, 15 minutes from Richfield.
I would go to the Ridgefield movie theater when we didn't go to the Bedford movie theater.
That's so. How long ago were you here? Like, when did you're in California, or where are you now?
I'm in California, and I've been here since 1973.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's been a while since you've been to Pound Ridge.
I moved out to this place called Sausalito, where Bob lived on a houseboat at one point, got a job at a restaurant called the Trident, and some guy named Robin Williams trained me as a busboy.
The Robin Williams?
We worked together for 3 years, and in the mid 80s, when Bob and I rolled out, we were doing a show in Corte Madera, and he asked me what I was doing. I said I was doing a show. He came and pretty much stole the evening away from all the comics that were there. And had a friend up on stage who Robin had gone to college and Marin drama school with. And Robin started heckling him, and he started heckling Robin back. And they literally just took over the rest of the night.
That's
So
funny.
it was very good. And he was very supportive, very helpful, very nice.
Oh, what an amazing what a cool friendship. Wow.
That I would say later on, as his popularity shot through the roof, became more of an acquaintance.
Oh, really? Okay.
But at one time I was tending bar in Sausalito, and I'd be getting off work, and he'd come by and goes, "Hey, I'm going to the Holy City Zoo tonight. Let's go." And I kept going until I realized I had to take my own car, or I would be there till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Because he kept on running into people, or he was just...
Well, at some point the show would end and then they would go out. And he was kind of a night owl, and people loved him. We were in San Francisco one night, and we were at this famous restaurant, and they had an outdoor eating area, and people were asking him if they would eat off his plate. And I'm like, what? And then we went to this place where there was this woman who danced with tassels. And he walks in, she stops in the middle of the act. They're just chewing the fat. And I'm going, what do I do now? So I go to the bar to get a beer. And this is in the late 70s. And the bartender tells me it's 25 bucks. And I went, well, this is the first strip club I've ever been in. A beer's 25 bucks. And apparently they are.
That's funny.
So, too many stories, but today is your story.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
And I like your chops. You've got a nice rhythm.
Oh, thank you. You got to see some stuff online. Did you see?
Yeah, you have a nice way about you and everything. I think you're on your way.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I would love to pick your brain more. And, as you know, it's kind of like who you know. So I have my day job as an orthodontist, and I I do really like that. I would say I have a passion for storytelling and for, you know, comedy. And as you know, comedy is one way to tell a story. So I'm really digging into that and enjoying that as my other life, you know, expressing that creative side.
They say it's a sign of intelligence, but here I am with you and Bob, so 2 out of 3 is not bad. I'm the odd one out. Bob was huge in kind of creating exposure for us at one point. He is extremely well connected.
Do you still do comedy? Like, what are you?
In 2000, I lived in this town called Tiburon across from San Francisco, and they birthed an international film festival. So they were trying to get Tom Snyder, who used to follow David Letterman, who lived in town, to MC the event. And at the last second, he couldn't make it. So they said, Mark, you used to do stand-up. Why don't you become the MC?
Oh, wow.
So for the next 12 years, I became the MC, which allowed me to opening night to do maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And then I got to run the program. And then I started doing Q&As for various movies. And we had celebrities there as famous as George Lucas and everybody else imaginable. So it was interesting exposure. But I will tell you one Robin story. During the Mark and Mindy days, I was in a bar, and it was downtown Tiburon, and I'm trying to remember the name because Bob would know what it is. And I walked in, and there are these 2 gorgeous women sitting at the bar. So I'm going there to meet some friends from college who I haven't seen in about 5 or 10 years. And this is where we're all going to meet up. So I sit down next to these women. One of them looks over at me and she says, "Don't even try." So I'm sitting there, I get a tap on the shoulder. It's Robin. He said, "What's up?" And I said, "I'm meeting some friends here. You know, you want to join us for dinner?" And he goes, "I'm in." So they take us, seated us at a table, and there are about 8 of us and everything. And I'm sitting next to him when who walks up with these 2 beautiful women? And they just, you know, everybody in the restaurant's like going, "There's Robin Williams."
Yeah.
And we're trying to pretend that, you know, he's just somebody sitting at the table.
Yeah.
We're all enjoying ourselves, but they come up to him and this gorgeous woman says to him, "Robin, I'll give you $10 for a kiss." And he says, 20 for a hickey. And that's kind of how the night went.
So anyway, let's talk about Blaine.
Blaine.
Okay, sorry. Let's tell me when you want to start. Thank you for let's
Bob, you're the conductor.
I'm the MC. Okay. So our guest today is Dr. Blaine Langberg, and he has a wonderful book called Journey of a Jew. And Blaine, tell me how you came to write it, and why you have an alter ego, and what your relationship is with your alter ego.
Well, thanks for having me on, Bob and Mark. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here. So I guess I've always loved a great story, and I think my journey started back even in college, because the funny thing is I was a math major and an English minor, which is an odd combination, right? But I've always had these 2 sides of my brain, which loves problem solving. I've always been very scientific, but then I have another side of me which loves stories. I've always been, you know, watched TV since I was little, and you'll see a lot of inspiration for TV shows that I watched in the 80s growing up. And with these 2 sides that I used in college, you know, my science and math side, and then my loving reading and my my English side, I have that as a background. And I said that the English stuff kind of went down a little bit while I was going to dental school, because I decided on dentistry, and then in particular orthodontics at the end of college, because it was a really great way to use my problem solving skills, interpersonal skills, And then when I got out of dental school, and then got out of orthodontics, I had so much free time. I was like, what should I do with my time? So I got into a lot of watching movies. And then I thought, you know what? I think I have a story to tell. So I actually wrote a couple of movie scripts, which are still on my computer. One day, hopefully they will see the world. We can talk about that another time. And after the movie scripts, I was still a little like, wanting to tell more stories, and the movies, as it's a very hard industry to break into. And I began to experience some things just going through after dental school, more anxiety, and kind of in my office experiencing a little bit of like panic attacks, but I wasn't sure what they were, and just my body not following my mind. So I did a lot of exploring with that. And I thought, you know what, this journey I'm on, and turning 40, so I had a little bit of a midlife crisis, and then learning about the body and the mind connection through a lot of reading and studying, which is kind of my go-to. I'm a lifelong student. So I began to take that part of my journey, but I didn't want it to be all about me. I wanted it to be funnier and more entertaining than my life. So that's when I created the book within a book. And as you know, it's not, or I like to tell people, it's not an autobiography, but you write what you know. So there's definitely a lot of things I've gone through, but exaggerating them. And I also do comedy on the side. And it's almost like my comedy, taking the truth, a big kernel of truth, and then blowing it up to make it a more entertaining story. So that's the way I look at my book, definitely what I know and writing about that, but then blowing it up to make it funny and entertaining and hopefully relatable.
Very, very cool. Mark, you want to jump in?
Well, I think what I enjoyed was you writing about your alter ego, and your character is writing about its alter ego, and trying to discern where Blaine Langberg lies between Adam Freeman and hang on half a second, let me get my brain going again. Jacob and Leah was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you.
And I think one of my favorite moments in the book, I'm glad you saved towards the very end. And I did have one question about you and meditation. Were you able to get to those kind of visions that you talk about in the book?
Yes, so that is based on true things that I've gone through. So I have done a number of hypnotherapy sessions, and I exaggerated a bit. Again, in the book, the character gets like sick to his stomach with it, which I didn't. But I would say, I don't know how much should I give away of the book and how much should it be a surprise? What do you think, guys?
Well, I'm just going to say when Jesus made a cameo, I was thrilled. I liked what he had to say because I agree with that. And if you're a writer, I think, and a comic, you have all the literary license you need.
Thank you. So that's actually another good point. So the hypnotherapy stuff, yes, like I have, the book does take some interesting spiritual turns, and I talk about past lives. So I would say the answer is yes. It's really like the character in the book. I struggle with my scientific side and the Harvard side, and the fact that there's not a lot of in Western culture, evidence for this. But I've read, my favorite book actually is Many Lives, Many Masters. Well, it's one of my favorite spiritual books by Brian Weiss, which a Yale-trained psychiatrist really talks about, scientifically the evidence in like Eastern culture, and even he has a great story that he documents. So that kind of made me think I wasn't crazy. And then going through this, because I always felt I was born with like a little bit of, kind of angst and anxiety and these twitches, which is also true. And I felt like I carried it over from other lives because I didn't have anything traumatic. And the hypnotherapy unmasked that, Again, it's still a little bit hard for me to believe, but I wanted to write about it through the character and experiencing it. Yeah, I put it out there.
I think skepticism is absolutely fine because you're just keeping yourself true to yourself.
Yeah.
Can I throw you a curve with another author of a similar ilk? Are you
Sure.
familiar with Neil Donald Walsh, his book Conversations with God?
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm familiar with that. I think it's been a long time since there's a movie too, right?
Yes, which doesn't know justice, but
Okay.
basically here's somebody who's either a great storyteller
Yes.
or he's actually conversed with God. And I'm only going to play with this for a few more seconds, Bob, but at one point in the first book, God tells a joke. And he goes, "What are you doing? How's this book going to have any credibility when it comes out if people hear that God's telling jokes?" God's response, and it's a very good joke, but without telling it, God says, "Who do you think invented humor?"
I love that. Yeah. And I thank you. Yeah, that's good. I will check that out again.
But it ties in with your journey and kind of a parallel way. And that's all I'll say about that, because we're here for Journey of the Jubu.
Thank you. And you brought up a good one with the part about Jesus and the kind of middle end of the book. I think it's towards the end. Is that is also based on a bit of a truth. My truth is I did have a dream like where I felt it. I sort of was very skeptical of the book, so that also is based on a true event in my life. And I woke up and I thought, that's hilarious. I have to write this down, because a lot of times, you wake up, you don't always remember dreams, but I remember that vividly. Like, okay, I'm going to get it out there, and I wrote that scene down, and it was maybe a couple of years like before the book got published, but I thought I'm going to see if I can find a way to insert that into the book. And I did. I was like, okay, this will be great, because as you know, the book talks about Judaism and the spiritual part of Judaism, Kabbalahism, and then I even delve into Sufism and then Buddhism a lot, obviously. And that's the thing. I don't want it to be boring and all about religion, because some people, that can make them turn a switch and just turn off. So I try and really integrate humor in within the story. And then I thought, let's definitely have the Jesus part will be great to have some Christianity. And one of the philosophies of the book is, the Venn diagram of religion, like where they all intersect, I think is the core of the truth. Because I think religion's more man-made. And for me, spirituality is like, I've been on this quest and this journey to learn more and more about, what makes us tick as humans. And there was a time where I was like, I don't know how you guys felt, or feel, like I was really deathly afraid of death. And that was turning 40. And the book was.
Why do you turn 70? That clock gets really loud.
Have you had that feeling where you get like, super, those emotions about it, or you haven't really?
Until I turned 70, I never gave it a second thought. And I used to do very stupid things that were sometimes life-threatening.
Wow.
I've been out surfing with 20-foot sharks and wished I had not been. And that day I shit my wetsuit. But other than that, I've done a variety of things and have just managed to get by. And now all of a sudden I'm going, wow, the clock really is ticking. So it puts everything into perspective. And I heard somebody say recently, without death, how would we appreciate life?
So true. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah. It's I feel like the book was a way for me to explore my mortality, and again, kind of through the veil of this character, which, as you know, is kind of, Jacob is more me, so that's the main narrator.
Thank you. I was worried it might be Adam.
No, it's so the way I'm a big Seinfeld fan. I loved it in the 90s, and even more so Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm takes it to another level, and
and beyond.
And beyond. And
it's hard to watch sometimes.
So I love it. I love that he pushes the boundaries.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. He really is a good great storyteller, and he definitely pushes it where it's cringeworthy, but I love it. And I felt like my book was almost Seinfeld to the next level, how they do like a story within a story. And I felt like my book is the literary version of that, being such a fan of TV and, sort of that self-reflection. I wanted to incorporate that in the book. So there's a lot of, I call it Seinfeldian humor in this.
Very cute.
Oh, what was your tagline? If Seinfeld met, remind me of the tagline?
Yeah, or if Seinfeld and Larry David wrote a book about something.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like Larry David and the Buddha had a beer together, that kind of pitch where,
And
they,
talk about God, the Kabbalah, Jesus, and dentistry.
yeah.
You may have created a new niche, books within books.
Yeah, you guys can tell me if that's been done a lot before. I can think of a handful, but not that many, right?
I think it was good methodology for telling your story.
Thank you. And actually the book started out, to be honest with you, this is a little inside info. The first version was all Adam. So yeah, and Adam's really snarky. He's a dentist who is angry at the world and is trying to solve his nervous twitches and his anxiety. And it was too much. Like a lot of my beta readers, when they read about Adam, did not like it. They stopped the book or they really complained. So that's when I invented Jacob, which is really me, a version of me. And, where he lessened Adam, and then he can actually like report, because Jacob is the author of Adam, right? He's his creation. So
they nicely play off one another.
Exactly.
Because without each other, there's no story.
Yeah. So that really was like unlocking the code for the book, I felt.
Nice.
And yeah, and then as you know, like Bob hopefully helps unlock, and you unlock the code for the book to the world, because I feel like it has a niche. And just getting people to, I think, appreciate the humor in addition to the story. I think it's like could be a modern day, story.
And there are some good jokes in there, and I should have taken notes and highlighted them, because a couple of them I thought were just classic, beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Well done, very well done.
I appreciate that from a fellow comedian. That's great.
So how do you relate your book and your stand-up career?
Good question, Bob. I think for me, comedy is another way to tell a story. So, the book is obviously I've done the medium through movies. I actually really love a good dialogue. I'm fascinated by a great plot. And then for me, the book was another way to really delve into, and the book is kind of heavy in dialogue, because I like to explore the characters and how they express themselves and how they interact with each other. Gets you to like explore what they're like with their personality and how they relate in conversation in stressful times. And then with comedy,
and hence the Four Horsemen.
Yes, exactly. That was a lot of fun. Those were,
because they give you the area to play off of them, to bounce it all back and forth, and also have them call you on your dare I say BS from time to time. Yes. which friends are all about. Bob is pretty candid with his thoughts too.
Yeah, I think that's cool to hear you say that, because I do think the Four Horsemen rings pretty true for like guy friendships and how we interact together. I think it's a little different. Everybody obviously is a little different, but that kind of essence of calling people out and having fun and teasing each other, Well,
I like the Errol character because he's the bad person in all of us, because we all have that trait, but we don't verbalize it.
And that's actually, it's funny that you guys will relate more, because it's based on one of my buddies out in California. So I feel like he has this laid back, carefree attitude that is good. You need to contrast that with, the East Coast, sometimes too much driven, right?
Well, we're theoretically all sexual creatures, but to weave it in and out throughout the book, I think allowed you to go places with the humor you might not have been able to otherwise. And
Thank
that you're good at poking fun at yourself, in particular when somebody says to you, do you have to mention the Yale thing all the time? Do you remember that in the book, one of your people suggests that when you tell people, well, I went to Yale,
Oh, yes.
maybe you should rein that back in. And I thought that reflected some sensitivity, understanding, and yet you went for the humor, which made it work.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a
And
good
then-
awareness moment.
Thank you. And then to finish that answer, Bob, I think, comedy is like sort of an instant gratification of a story. And I'm really, and actually my wife said to me, I think comedy is even better for you than writing a book, because you get that like instant, people laugh at your joke, you get that enthusiasm and feedback right away, which is, I think a lot of comedians will tell you, we're insecure. It's kind of nice to hear when people, listen to you. And I make a joke in my comedy that I live with my wife, my 3 daughters, like I work with 8 women, I'm like in estrogen immersion therapy here, and my testosterone tank is low, but it's great. And then I joke that, it's nice to have a room full of people who are quiet, who will actually now listen when I'm speaking. It's a joke, but it's fun. I enjoy that, relating to, to people. I will say one last other thing about the book, that we're talking about sort of the 4 horsemen and the guy humor. And you write it, and people ask me, I was even asked to maybe change it and tone it down a little bit because Adam's a jerk, but you have to have him evolve. And I thought, you know what, that was sort of for me, the turning point is that I'm writing the book for me, and I'm not going to write it to change it for somebody else. And if people relate to it, that would be amazing and a blessing. But if they don't, I've at least put the story I wanted out there. And my buddies were reading it and became, kind of going through the same thing in their 40s. And for me, a moment of epiphany came when my buddy left it out on his coffee table, and his wife picked it up, and, we all text each other, and she goes, Blaine, I started your book and I love it. And I'm like, oh my God, she's going to think I'm crazy. And she goes, I love it. This is hilarious to see how my husband thinks and talks with his friends.
Wow.
So I was like, that's really, really cool. All of a sudden, Debbie liked it, and women, I think, which is really cool to see, are connecting with it and are enjoying, that aspect of the book that they say, we don't really get to see how men are thinking. And it was really cool to me. It was kind of an honor that they're willing to, hear the story and relate. I've even had one of my friends from high school, she said, I never even thought about Buddhism, but your book now makes me want to learn more about it and meditation. So to me, that was whole, one of the big rewards of writing the book is people connecting with you and, hearing how you guys relate to things and find it funny. That's very cool.
So do
Very
you have
cool.
another book in you?
Do I have another book in me? I have more stories in me. I've been actually working on the sequel, but I feel a little bit blocked, but I have more stories in me, that's for sure. I've been concentrating on the comedy. So I've been really focusing on that. My next step for the book is an audio book. So I tried to do it myself, but I wasn't very good at it. I'm too monotone. So I have an actor, I think, who I'm working with a company who's nailing it. So I would say by the hopefully mid to end of summer, we're going to have the book out on audio, which I'm really excited about. I think he can make the characters pop. He's also an actor and comedian, so I'm excited to see him, do his chops for that. And then I'm hoping I can get a sequel out. I do think the characters have more of a story to tell. And to be honest, it's my dream to make the book into a movie, either a movie or a TV show. That is my ultimate dream. I think they would play really well on a screen.
And then you'll move to California?
Yes, and we'll do an in-person interview.
Sounds good.
Excellent. So I wanted to give you one chance to sing the praises of peach rings.
So a little secret in the book that now the world knows is dentists and orthodontists we have big sweet teeth. We have a sweet tooth. So if you go to any dental office in the break room with the dentist and the hygienist, you'll usually see like a jar of candy, and I'm no exception. I have a sweet tooth and I brush afterwards, don't worry. But I've always loved peach rings, like sweet candy. Delicious.
Awesome.
Um,
Blaine, is there anything about the book you want to mention that we haven't had the wit to ask you?
I would say just I've had a number of people come up and say the book has been perfect for them because they're not really religious or spiritual. They want to laugh and they're like, hey, you made me think. And my goal is to educate a person while I entertain them. So if somebody says that to me, that they learned a couple things or even that they laughed out of it, then my day is made. And the other thing, I think, just to be honest, I always considered myself an orthodontist, but the book made me really appreciate, if you have a dream, if you have a vision, if you have the dedication, like anybody could do it. And I feel pretty proud of myself that I was able to take time at night and, keep really working at the book, even when I didn't feel like I wanted to work anymore and finish it. I tried to surround myself with people who could help me. I took writing classes. Even when I got bad, feedback that, hey, we don't want to publish this, I didn't take no for an answer. So I definitely would like to encourage your listeners out there to keep pursuing your dreams. I know it sounds cliche, but you definitely can do it. And if people say no, then that's okay. Ask the next person. Do it how you want to do it. And I think just by persevering and keeping getting out there, I've met great people like you guys who I've connected with. I love that part
can
of
I
it.
ask you an orthodontic question?
Sure, yeah.
Go ahead.
Bob will probably get this. You may be too young. Have you ever heard of Archie Bell and the Drells?
I have not.
This could be your theme song. Can I,
Are you going to sing?
worse than that, I'm going to play it.
Okay, better.
I'm Archie Bell of the Drells of Houston, Texas. We don't only sing, but we dance just as good as we want. In Houston, we just started a new dance called the Tighten Up. This is the music we tighten up with.
Okay, Archie Bell and the Drells, and the song is the Tighten Up. And your point?
Just that I thought because he makes all these spacing jokes and he's tightening up all the time, why not have a theme song?
It's funny you mentioned that. I have a theme song for the book. If I would love, the song is wait, I have it. Can I tell you guys it? But I love that. So my theme song is Affirmation by Savage Garden. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard of Savage Garden.
Yeah, it would be the perfect song. So, and actually the singer became a comedian, believe it or not, out in California. So maybe one day my dream will be to
Well, when one door closes, another one opens.
there you go. And then can I leave you with one other story,
Please.
guys?
That would be the perfect ending.
So I think one of the great, and you guys I think are the same way as far as, you're storytellers, you are people, person people. And I think for me is the connections the book is making for me have been just worth the journey, even if I don't sell another copy, which hopefully I will. You can get it on Amazon.com. But I had a reviewer that I sent the book to. I think it was on readersfavorite.com. And the reviewer, he nailed it perfectly. He gave me nice feedback about the characters and the dialogue and how he related to the humor and the spirituality. And I found him on Facebook and I said, I would love to use your review as a quote. Do I have your permission to use it for the cover? And even use some of this on Amazon. So he's like, sure, hit me up and let's chat. So all of a sudden on my lunch break, there was a call through Facebook Messenger And I picked the phone up, the video, and here's this guy, this black guy with dreadlocks, smoking an e-cigarette, coming from the Philippines. And he goes, "I bet you didn't think I was your demographic, did you?" I said,
Whoa.
I said, "I absolutely did not." And he was the coolest guy. He goes, "No, your book spoke to me." He's like, "I really got that." And you know, it doesn't matter sort of your background and he was literally from Africa, like more of an IT guy, but he also did writing and reviews on the side. And it was really cool to connect with him, you know, that I would never have had that experience.
How awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we are nearing our time limit where this will go away. So Blaine, I just want to thank you, and Mark, good job. But people go buy Blaine's book.
Thank you so much, Mark and Bob. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.